Well, hello and welcome. I'm Peasant, and today I'm going to be taking a look at oceans. So this is going to be a introduction to Oceans the Spirit, and then a difficulty 0 playthrough to kind of put some of that into practice, but without the distractions of dealing with a adversary. So, ocean, my one of my favorites. The key thing with ocean is it has one big limitation in that you can't place presence inland, right? You can get on the coast, you can get in the ocean, you can't go inland, and that obviously is a big limitation. But as long as you're mindful of that, you'll be fine. Don't worry, don't sweat it. So there you go, patronising advice for the start. So you can't place inland. There is actually one major power indemnifiable claim, which can mean you place inland, but that's not worth thinking about. If you get it, you get it. But otherwise, don't worry. You have these other powers here. You've got the ability to drown pieces. So if you have the option of destroying something or drowning it, drowning's better because you'll gain some energy back. And if anyone pushes a town or an explorer into the ocean, then you will gain that they will drown and you will gain energy equal to their health divided by number of players. So in solo you get a lot of energy. In two player you get less. I mean that might make you think, oh, but ocean's weaker. But having that extra spirit to take care of the inland makes your life a lot easier as the spirit because you can even on very high difficulty, it's actually relatively easy to keep the coast very very clear and presentable. So that should a relative you're trying to impress show up, you can just be like, hey, look at this lovely coastline. I didn't have to tidy it up, especially. It's just like that. So we've got good growth options up here. And they are a bit tricky in that you've kind of got one that retreats in, you've got one that places double presence in the ocean, and you've got one that pushes out. So the thing with any spirit that does have a double presence place, you really want to try and do that as much as possible, because this is how you power up. You want to try and avoid overly reclaiming, especially with this spirit, because every reclaim you're going to be gathering a presence into the ocean, which means your reach inland is even further reduced. If you get to the point where you only have presence in the ocean, that can put you in a difficult spot. So, so you generally want to be doing this as much as possible, and this as much as possible, because although you're only placing one presence, you're kind of pushing onto the coast out of the ocean, and you're gaining the all important power cards. So we have tracks here, and just a general bit of kind of experience-based advice is just don't bother with the top track until you've cleared the bottom track. I mean, this is just a weaker track. There's no two ways about it. If you, for example, drew a major power that really needed the extra moon that turn, then maybe you might want to pick this. But I would say, in general, you want to be going bottom track all the way. Okay, and then we'll take a look at these innates. So you've got a very potent fear power here, and it is a range 0, but it doesn't matter. As long as you have presence, you can just target it. You don't need and if you can get the elements you need to trigger this is great. The main missing feature is going to be air. In your start hand, you've only got one card with the air element, this purple one here. So when you are looking to pick up cards, it's nice to try and pick up some air, but it's not, that's just a very that's a very kind of, and that's an edge, something to think about. And then we've got Ocean Breaks the Shore. So it's another way of drowning, and it's the only way of drowning a city. And this makes you really want the mountains as well as the water. I mean, pretty much as long as you have the blue, these water elements, you should be fine for that element. It's just keeping out for mountain cards, or ideally water mountain cards for this. Especially in the early game. Later on, you might find your coast is just completely under control and you're not too worried about using this power at all, and you're more thinking about gaining the fear you need to win. Yeah, so that's kind of a little look. Don't underestimate this power. If you're a newer player, you might think, fear schmear. But actually, this is how you win, especially if you're soloing the spirit. Unless you get very lucky with your power card draws, you're not going to be able to do much about the inland. Well, you might be able to do a bit, but you're unlikely to clear inland. Okay, then our start cards. So we've got a very typical kind of imbalance on the start cards. So we've got 2 that have water and mountains and 2 that don't. So if we are looking to try and clear our coastlines, and because it gains you energy, it's actually really important to try and drown as much as possible. So if we go back up here, you see I'm saying I'm dissing this energy track. I mean, it is kind of terrible. If you can be drowning stuff, you don't even need to think about this track until later on. So yeah, you've got these mountains. So generally, you don't want to play both of these on turn 1. regardless. I mean, in at 0 difficulty, which is what the playthrough is going to be, I mean, we're going to have way more drowning ability than people to drown probably. But yeah, so you want to play one or other of these at the start so that you can drown a town on turn 2 as well. Obviously, this is a defense card, so no direct use on turn 1. However, 2 fear is a lot of fear, so don't think of this just as a defense card, because 2 fear is actually sometimes just worth playing it for the sake of 2 fear, because that's a good amount of fear. And then we have Call of the Deeps, which is a very handy card, and it has 2 main uses. Obviously, you can just gather 2 explorers into the ocean with this bottom bit here, and then basically each explorer will become energy depending on how many players and how many spirits are in the game. So that's obviously useful. But the other thing you can use is you could use it to prevent a build that's in this inner tier here. So for example, let's say there's a build in here, or here. You could drag that explorer away in the fast phase and prevent a build, because the one key limitation of your start hand is that coastal. It doesn't matter if you get range ups, they're never going to target inland. But with this one, you can at least drag an explorer from a slightly more inland land and prevent a build chain. So yeah, and this is a range 0er, so you might have to plan your presence placement around it, as is this. So that is where your presence placement decisions are coming from. Is where do you want to drown stuff, and where do you potentially want to pull explorers away using Call of the Deeps. Okay, so Tidal Boon is actually generally a good turn 1 play, because turn 2 you're probably more likely to want to play this because it's got the ability to drown a town, and if you're playing at a difficulty where there aren't many or any towns on the coast at the start, then this is going to be a waste of time. But this is basically, it costs you 1, but it gains you 2 energy, and this push, which probably will be irrelevant for this playthrough. So that's a little bit of an overview. There are some more tips and tricks, but I'll probably be explaining them as I go. So let's our first decision is, where do we place our opening presence? So we don't get to see what this Explorer card is. We have to go straight in, and it obviously depends. If you're playing with certain adversaries, you might have a town up here. Is it up here? Yeah, you might have a town in this land here. So you'd probably want to place in with that town, and I actually favour putting presence in this particular land because it has more reach inland. Actually, on this map, it doesn't make as much difference. And yes, okay, that's interesting. This is, I think, is a C. I'm not sure. It varies from map to map as it happens, but on some of them, placing here means you can reach into here at only 2 range. Yeah, this is still relevant. Yeah, this is still the best place. Actually, this is quite a nice tile. I might add that in the description, which tile I'm on here. So I am going to place in here though, in with this, with here, and that's because I know that I am eventually going to destroy this city. Though actually, I'm going to place up here, and that is because if there's an explorer in this land or this land, I want to be able to drag the explorer out using Call of the Deep. So I'm going to go there. So our explorer's in the mountain. Okay, doesn't matter. In fact, now we want the presence to be in there, and now we're sad. Very, very sad, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So, turn 1, what are we doing? So, we have a double presence placement. That's almost always what you're going to want to do, and it certainly is what you want to do with this spirit, so you can get up to your second play. I mean, it might be tempting to kind of to play something like this, get a presence in here and think about drowning, but actually, I think you're better off just charging down those tracks. Just charging. And again, that's the boost of experience. I'm not sure how I would justify that. I'm not sure. But this, even at difficulty 0, this can be tricky. I did actually do a run through yesterday that messed up for technical reasons, and it was awkward as hell. I had to, yeah, it was really awkward. I might try and salvage that with some editing. Okay, so we're going to go bottom track. We like the bottom track, and they're going to go in the ocean. So we've got a big stack in the ocean there, and yeah, so obviously this was just a crapshoot. It was just a crapshoot. So we're going to go with Tidal Boon, and then because we want to keep this mountain for next turn, this earth, for a drown, because we're going to be pushing into here to drown next turn, probably. So we're going to go with Call of the Deeps. The nice thing is that this has the air on it, which means that we're going to get pound ships to splinters, and we can use it to just drag this Explorer out and gain us a bit of energy for next turn. Okay, so that's our 2 plays. So gonna drag there, and the idea, if there was an Explorer into one of these 2 lands in particular, I could have prevented that build chain, but that's not how the cards fell. Okay, so we have... So this is not much we can do about this inland build. I'm going to try and pay some attention. But, yeah, so... we could push this to relocate them. Alright, so I am actually going to push this fella into here to fight back. Actually, that might actually be suboptimal, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm a blimmin' bloke. Okay. So, we are now up to this point. We have a Ravage here that we can't do anything about with our current cards. We have a Ravage here that we can defend with Grasping Tide. So removing that Explorer actually was quite important. I didn't mention it at the time. But this is a Defend 4 and this is going to be an Attack 5. So this is the good stuff here. So I am going to be using this, and this is going to be great because there's going to be a build here in the Invader phase, in the wetlands, and then I can basically respond to it in the slow phase. A little bit of planning, and all of a sudden become very quick. So I am obviously I kind of expect to not be able to do anything about this land, but there might be something I draw that helps, but probably not. Let's just see. So I'm going to go with this option here, and generally you want to be gaining your power before you place your presence. Obviously most of the time in the physical game doesn't matter because you can just be like, you can just shuffle them around, but in the digital version it will, unless you have a certain option unchecked, it will kind of force you to, won't let you undo. These are the words I'm looking for. Okay, well this is an interesting collection. This is an interesting collection. So what am I looking for? I like... Okay, we like generally with this spirit, so some spirits you might want to ignore the innate on. This isn't one of them, especially this one and this one. Well, the 2 innates. You want to, but this one in particular later on, and this one in particular early on. So this has pretty good icons for us. It has the air that helps us get fear, and it has the water. I actually like blight removal with ocean because you can remove some blight to help you deal with the fact that your inland is a mess, as it often. This is going to blight this turn. But Call to Tend. We could use it to remove this blight eventually. That could be useful. What would be more to the point is defend cards that we could use in this land, and this land. These kind of next wave of lands. We haven't drawn that, so I'm just going to go with Rain of Blood here. Now the reasoning is it has the air that enables my fear innate, and it also generates lots of fear itself. So this is going to be a good one for us. So I'm going to go with that. It's also cheap, so I will at some point be kind of probably overrun with energy if I do a lot of drowning, but probably not immediately. So I'm going to play that there, and I'm going to make a sacred site up here. This is my favorite area, as I've explained a little bit already, and I'm just going to play all 3 of these, and that should work pretty well for us. We're going to be generating possibly 4 fear. Oh yeah, because there will be a build in here that we can't do anything about. It's that weird thing with Ocean of a combination of vast power and limitation. Okay, we've got some ships to pound to splinters, and getting the fear cards. They're often the thing that help you deal with the interior. Okay, that's not going to help me. That's not going to help me. Okay, so I could destroy this town here, but I'm actually thinking it would be better not to. The reasoning there is that I could drown the town and gain 2 energy. So I'm actually going to retaliate here. So it was a mistake putting this Dahan in there anyway. It was a mistake. Not punished for it. Okay, so here's going to be a textbook use of preventing the build chain next turn. And we've got Rain of Blood, so that's going to gain us 3 fear, which is pretty great. And then we can swallow the land dwellers in here. I guess pushing this Dahan out of here meant that they didn't get murdered, but I'd be lying if I pretended that that was deliberate. I would be lying. That's not cool. Okay, so yeah, we'll drown. So generally, obviously, you want to drown if you have the choice. If you have that choice. Okay, so we are now back. We're down to 0 cards. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you want to reclaim. So it's always worth looking and seeing, can you make things work without reclaiming? And i.e. by just gaining a card. And obviously, if you plan to do this, you might have a card left over that's useful. But yeah, it would be great to draw a solution to this problem. It would be great to, yeah, Call of the Deeps will solve this problem because we can drag this explorer into this land, preventing the build. So the reclaim here is definitely the right play, I think. We also, yeah, we might gain a useful power card, and as you can see, we're already up to 7 energy, so we might be able to even go with a major. Though actually, I'm pretty happy with the cards we have right now, so probably it will be a minor. And the thing to bear in mind is with more spirits, you probably wouldn't have this much energy, unless your other spirits have been pushing lots of stuff into the ocean. Okay, so again, I'm going to gain the power card first before I move the presence into the ocean. And the reasoning is, of course, I might need this sacred site, or I might need this disc in here, this presence in here. So it's, yeah, you definitely want to check first. And my head's in the way. Let's put this over here. Put this over here. Okay. So, so going on icons, we've obviously got, this has got water, which we like. So this is a fear card, and it's well, apart from the mountain and the moon. Actually, apart from the mountain and the moon, he says these are 2 of the things we want. It's kind of off-brand, but it is fear, and that's good for us. We like the fear, and a couple of blight removal cards. Now, let me look at this. A blight is going to go down here. We haven't drawn a card that's going to solve this problem. So blight removal is good for us, and this is ideal because it's also fear and blight removal. And we've got a mountain and sand blight removal as well. So this is ideal because it means we can remove blight from this land, this land, this land, or this land, and they're all ones that are likely to be within our reach. So I will go with this one here. And the reasoning is a combination. It has nice icons for us. It has the water and the moon, and we can basically immediately remove the blight here. Now we are going to have a blighted island, and that's a shame. But there's nothing we can do about it. And you just have to accept that that's just how it is with this spirit. If you don't get the exact cards you need, you're going to have a blighted island, and there's no shame in that. Okay, so I'm going to go with the melting there. And now I have to gather one into the ocean. So I guess the other thing to think about is, do I want to try and drown this city this turn? And I think removing this blight is more useful. Because obviously if I retreat this presence from this space, I'm not going to be able to drown this city. Maybe I could wait on this blight. Well, because I can prevent this build. I can defend in here. I think it's... yeah, it could go either way on this one. Destroying this city does have some value as well. So to destroy the city, I'm going to need the 3 water and 2 mountains, which should be pretty easy. But we also need that presence in there. However, our mountain cards aren't going to do a lot for us this turn. Like, for example, this, we're not going to have any targets. This, it's just going to gain us an energy. So actually, I think going with our drown turn this turn is a mistake, especially as there's no pressure on this mountain. So I think I am going to go with ignoring my mountain cards as much as possible this turn, and probably going melting, call, rain of blood to go with more of a fear turn. So I'm going to return this one inland, and we're going to go melting, blood, and Call of the Deeps. So Call of the Deeps will drag this fella into this land to prevent the build. Yeah, and just gain some nice fear and remove the blight. But we are going to have a blighted island, but you can't have everything. So we'll call into here. So I mean, I could call this person into here, but this is a problem that's easily dealt with. All you need to do is defend, basically, and that's this area sorted. So, and probably as we're going to want to play this for the fear anyway, it's not even really costing us anything. Because, I mean, we're going to be on 4 or 5 plays very soon. So preventing this is more important because this is awkward, especially as we've not drawn any defense cards. And we'll pound some ships to splinters. Defend 3 on our coastal lands. Well, thanks. Thanks, fear card. Your fear cards can be very variable in how useful they are, especially for this spirit. Okay. Oh, okay, we've got wetland to wetland. That's mildly awkward. But it vindicates our uncanny melting decision, because now if you remove this blight right here, then this can blight again, and it's just not really a big deal. And this Rain of Blood is actually one of my favourite base game minor powers, because you just love racking up that fear. All right, so this land isn't a problem because we prevented the build, and this we can just solve with Grasping Tide. So and there's a build here, then a Ravage, but because we removed the Blight here, it's just not so worrying. And this, I mean, we've got these 2 explorers here. We might consider dragging them out with Core of the Deeps, but I don't think it's a problem. We can just eat them with Swallow the Land Dwellers. So this is looking acceptable here. So we could even have a half decent turn just with the cards in hand. So I'm thinking about my growth option here, and we could go with just maximizing our presence placement, and it might be not a bad turn to do so, especially as we have blighted. The island is blighted now, so there is a bit more pressure to put presence on the map. But as this is a great opportunity to drown this city because we'll have the icons we need, I am going to definitely do this. Again, the city, it's just, cities are, if you can destroy a city, it's generally worthwhile. And if you are going to try and farm the invaders a little bit, which you might want to do for the drowning with the spirit, you generally want to do it in a very controlled way. So we gain the power first. And again, we might be tempted to do a major power here. We certainly have the energy. But I'm very happy with my current set of cards, so I am going to go with another minor. Okay, and what have we got here? Okay, entrancing apparitions are great because they have the icons we need for our pounding ships to splinters. So this is getting to this tier is obviously amazing. 4 fear is great. So that would be my pick without even thinking. So generally that's a good order to go in. What works with my innates of my existing powers, and then look at the others just to double check that you're not neglecting something. So we've got drought, which I mean, we could use drought if we were more likely to be able to trigger this and destroy a city. We could maybe even do something about this land, and also then clean up after us, because this does add a blight. I did talk about blight placement quite a lot, and I think was it the vital strength of the earth 0. So I won't go into it too far here. But basically, in solo, it's a bit trickier. So this would be tempting, and I do have the uncanny melting. But if this wasn't as good as it was, I'd be more tempted by this. But I think this is a problem. I'm not too worried about this, so I'm going to go with the apparitions here. Obviously, gnawing root biters can be great for pushing stuff into the ocean or towards the coast, but yeah, this is much better for us. Because this is basically going to mean that we generate 2 fear, because it's going to get us the air we need, and it's going to gain us some energy too. So yeah, this is ideal. We can even drag these people out if we wanted to. Yeah, lovely stuff. Okay, so we want to be in here to drown this city. We don't really need to be in here. This land's about to clear. But I think it's probably makes sense to be in here as well, just because it might give us drowning possibilities. Because yeah, you do wanna drown where you can. Okay, so we're just playing everything here. So sometimes with this spirit, I might want to think, oh, okay, actually we'll only play a few things so that we can not reclaim on the next turn. He says, but as I'm pretty happy to be destroying this city, I'm pretty happy to be doing all these things, and they're all necessary parts. I suppose I could... No, all the cards are necessary. So to avoid going too deep into the tank, I will just proceed. So we'll get some fear going, and some more fear going. And so here's an interesting one. I could actually gather 2 explorers into the ocean here. But there's this build here. So this is one of those cases where I can go, okay, so I'm going to be able to swallow the land dwellers. So I'm not going to just prevent this build chain. And this is probably the only spirit ever. Well, actually, no, that's probably not true. But this is one of the few spirits that will sometimes let the invaders build. Most other spirits, you just want to get them out of there. Okay, we have a downward spiral. So generally, a general good rule of thumb is you want to remove from the ocean. But bear in mind that that might end up being your only sacred site. So in that instance, you might want to remove from the coast. So you can remove a... Okay, well, this is actually completely... Oh, well, this is just a negative for us. I don't think I can skip it either. Never mind. Oh, well. Scapegoats. It's a hilarious event. Especially tier 3, where the cities are all destroying all the towns. It's kind of redonkulous. Alright. Okay, so we're going to be able to prevent this build next turn. We can swallow the land dwellers in here. It's just going to get our energy banks up. We might be gaining a major this turn, so, you know, hold on to your hats. Eat that city. And yeah, this is going a lot better than my last playthrough. Okay, so we could rearrange our Dahan here. There's not really much point in doing that. I suppose there really isn't any point in doing that, I don't think. Yeah, I think, yeah, no reason to complicate matters. So we have a Ravage here. That's fine. It's going to be a blight on the board, but we could remove it next turn. We've got a build here that we want to prevent. This build is awkward. We have 15 energy. So yeah, this is going to be a reclaim. Yeah, we're going to reclaim here, and I think it's time to gain a major, even though I'm very happy with this collection of cards. I probably will get rid of maybe something like Tidal Boon, or maybe swallow the land dwellers. I mean, now the coast is completely empty. Yeah, probably swallow the land dwellers. But let's look at what major we get. So let's see. Let's see what the game's going to give us. Okay, Land Thrashes is a really great one for our spirit, except it's gone a bit too well. So let's just make it big. 2 damage per blight in target land and a damage per blight in adjacent lands. And the Moon Mountain, these aren't hard icons for us to have. We're likely to have those. And the range 2, crucially. But we can only target in lands that already have blight. So that is a limitation. Is a limitation, and we've actually inexplicably this area is not looking too bad, but it could be part of our toolkit. We don't have to use it constantly. All right, so Power Storm. We could use Power Storm to just throw Rain of Bloods everywhere, which could be good. Well, can we actually do this? Sun and fire. We've got the sun but no fire. Interesting. I've not actually done Power Storm with Rain of Blood. I suspect that's very good. If you can just cane all of your all of your fear powers, then that's obviously going to be quite nice. Okay, and we've got this again. It likes the sun, and it has the range, so that could deal with this build. So that's actually also quite nice. If our inland was a bit more of a mess, I would just go with this, and there would be no decision to be made here. But Accelerated Right does have the range too, and we can get in here and take care of this land. And we don't care that much about this ability because the inland just isn't a mess, and it even has a water element on it. So that's probably what I'll go with. So it's kind of... If this inland was more of a mess, it would definitely be a case of Land Thrashers. But this is only going to do 3 damage. I mean, well, it could do 3 damage in here and 3 damage in here. So, I think this is... Yeah, I think either of these is fine. I'm ignoring Talons, and that's largely because it doesn't have the range on it that these two powers have. And we're unlikely to get the Threshold because it's a fire one. We have no fire cards. Yeah, let's go with Accelerated Rock. I hardly ever use Accelerated Rock. Okay, so I think I'm going to get rid of... Swallow the Land Dwellers. I like Swallow the Land Dwellers, but it doesn't have the moon on it, and actually we've got plenty of moon stuff going on. Now let's get rid of Tidal Boon. Okay, so we need to gather into the ocean. We'll keep our Sacred Site here. Doesn't really matter. Let's just bring one in from here. Okay, so in this case here, we might even think about not removing this, but I am just going to keep it simple. We're going to smash this land in here with the 4 damage, and our 2 range. Uncanny Melting, there's nothing to remove, so we'll forget about that for now. And there's nothing on the coast, so we're not too... Oh, I just realised I've got rid of my only other mountain card, but there aren't going to be any cities on the coast, so that's just fine. So yeah, I think we go with generating as much fear as possible here. We can Entrancing Apparitions to bring this friend out, and then maybe Call of the Deeps should hopefully... Oh, okay, we're only getting up to 2 fear on our innate, but that's just fine. No problems there. So this actually might be a waste to have both of these here. So thinking about next turn, obviously, ideally, I don't want to be reclaiming next turn. Oh, I've just realised the Uncanny Melting does make sense here. So I'm going to put one of these back in its box. These are actually pretty much the same. I'll save an energy, and we'll go with Uncanny Melting here. Yeah, we've still got the same amount of fear, and we'll remove the blight that gets placed in this wetland. So it's a slightly off-brand turn, but we don't really need the mountain stuff. So yeah, possibly it was a mistake to forget my only other water mountain card. Alright, so we'll drag this fella into here. Prevent that build chain. Pound some of the old ships. Okay, now we actually just need to remove this city. Oh, have I accidentally won? This it's always the bane of any Spirit Island fan is to see on people on forums going, "Oh, the end was anticlimax." Well, you're probably playing on too easy a difficulty if that's the case. So we've got some fear cards here. Each player chooses a different land, gather up to 2 Dahan, then 1 damage per Dahan present. Okay, fine. Well, let's have a Dahan party over here. And okay, well, we can just win now because instead of dealing with this land, we can just do 4 damage in here and kill this city to get the Terror level 3 victory. So yeah, if you find that the end is a bit of an anticlimax, it's probably because you're just playing it on far too easy a difficulty. Let's just rain some blood on them first. Just can't resist, and we'll destroy the city for the win. So this was actually a fairly fairly straightforward win with Ocean. My last playthrough, where there were kind of technical problems, actually that was way more tricky because I just didn't draw anything useful. So I might try and do something with that because I think it was interesting. All right, so thanks so much for being here. I've been Peasant, and I've got a whole load of aiming towards a complete series of these 0 difficulty runs with all the spirits, and I have other runs with more difficulty, etc. Yeah, so thanks for being here. I've been Peasant. A like, subscribes, and feedback very much appreciated. And if you have tips for this spirit and you want to share them, put them in the old comments below. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll catch you next time.